true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, haunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant.
Good morning. Welcome back to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Olsen, in studio with my family. You should say my brothers from another, but now we have Helen on board with this morning. So in here with the family, Tim Howe right there. Helen is filling here. Dr. Bradley is making his exit, so I want to thank their brother for being here. And the Rhodes Scholar is here on time. You know why he's on time? Because I pick him up now.
It works.
It works, right? You know, you gotta leave us in. And Pastor Hobbs is over there as usual, doing a fantastic job. We want to thank our sponsor, the Money Store, for all your mortgage needs. Give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. Again, the Money Store and the MAMLEO membership. So thank you. But also, folks, you know, you should support this broadcast. And Pastor Hobbs, if they want to send in a donation this morning for Boston Praise Radio, how can they do that, sir?
$ capital BPRTB. $ capital BPRTB.
All right, folks, if you want to continue to hear broadcasting such as this, that's what you should do. And do it off. Like it's the end of the year, you know, there's a nonprofit here. You know, make your donation where it's going to count, right? But want to say a hearty good morning. And it's been a while. The brother Kevin Peterson is in the house here, looking good from the neighborhood. Like I told him, I said, you know, it's good to be seen rather than viewed. And he just started chuckling. I said, you can take that with you. I know I'm gonna take it with me. Take it with you, right? You know, when you're thinking about it. But he's here to talk this morning about Boston Black Reparations meeting on Boston's white churches. It's going to be held today, Saturday, December 20th at 11 a.m. in the Grace Church of All Nations, 33 Elm Hill Ave. Come join us. Seating is limited, and Kevin's time is limited, so we're going to get right into it. Kev, first of all, I say good morning. Welcome back. I know you've been working on this reparations for quite some time, so give us an update on where things stand, sir.
Yes, quite a long time. Almost a decade, it seems. It started in 2017 with a protest around changing the name of Faneuil Hall, which is a reparations effort, a repair effort. And we've made some progress there in terms of getting the city to the city council to vote in favor of changing the name of Faneuil Hall. We're waiting for Mayor Wu to finalize.
She's too busy raising taxes.
Well, we want her to put her approval on what the city wants in terms of this name change. We started off this project with the majority of the city opposing the name change. By the way, we're changing the name because Peter Faneuil was a slave owner, slave trader, and died at the age of 45 with 5 slaves enslaved people in his possession over on Beacon Hill. And he represents the ugly side of this city in terms of race relations. So we've been working on that project for a long time, as has other communities across the country. Been working on changing the names of buildings, edifices, streets, pulling down memorials. So we're part of a national movement, and it's been slow, but progressive and positive in the long run. Then we moved on to some other issues. As we continue to work around the name change, we moved on the issue around reparations per se, and we were successful a couple of years ago in getting the city to officially apologize for its role in the transatlantic slave trade, and that was successful. Mayor Wu did sign on to that official apology along with the Boston City Council. That is largely symbolic. Mostly are largely symbolic, but they speak towards making progress around having the substantive conversation and moving towards policy. So the apology led to the creation, and this is the policy, of the City of Boston's Reparations Task Force, which had created by the City of Boston.
And when was that?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's 2 years into the process now. It will finalize itself with a bunch of recommendations, I hope, around what reparations should look like. That's being led by Attorney Joe Feaster. We all know him. He's been part of this family, so to speak. That effort of creating the task force was the effort of the black community. Started here in the radio station to some certain extent in terms of dialogue and the push, and we have that in motion, and we're looking for payout. We're looking for policy changes that really address the issue of racism, of slavery, and systemic suppression of the black community in Boston. Beyond that, we created the what we call a grassroots Boston Reparations Commission, and that is part of what the meeting that we're having this morning, where we've pushed the mayor, the task force, Joe Feaster's task force, to so to speak, his task force, to put money on the table in terms of payout. We put a number on the table of $15 billion for the black community, and we say $15 billion is not enough. That's a starting point to address the issue of payout, to address the issues around education, to address the issues around community development and housing, and a list of things that some may say are deficits within the black community that need to be addressed. So we put that number on the table, and we're pushing for a resolution on that. And I'll just tie it up here, and this, just the last part is that as we were pushing the city, we were doing research around what other institutions were responsible for the suppression of black people, and lo and behold, we found that the white churches have been complicit.
Oh well,
in this
and not only that, I mean, look, law enforcement was established here in Boston, right, to go after slaves, right?
Slave catchers.
So we have a long history here that we try to deny. But before we grab this call, I want to say, Kevin, because I've seen a lot of these, and this is no knock on the work that you're doing, because it's much needed and appreciated. But the city has a reputation, like for instance, what's been in the paper recently, OPAD, right? They start these things that are supposed to address problems, and then they don't have the power, and they don't have the funding, and they don't really have the commitment to follow through, right? And then people say, okay, they've got this going, and then we study it. We don't need to study it any longer. We know what ails us here, right? We know the economics, because honestly, instead of the mayor saying, you know, that to increase taxes on some of our black folks in the city of Boston, just say, you know what? As a gesture, right, to start towards this reparations, we give them folks a tax break, right? Instead of hitting them with more, right? Let's start to pay down on some of that debt that they've been paying and our ancestors have been paying over the years. This is why I don't think they take it serious. I'm not saying you don't, but I don't think their commitment is serious, because we've seen this. We have organization, the Black Men's Group, and the City Hall. All of these things, like I said, are symbolic, right? Because that's why I asked you how long it's been going on, how long we've been doing this, because I don't see any real movement there.
Well, let me say this.
Not on your part, but the city's part.
No, I hear you. But I tell, or I say to people who raise this legitimate issue around this being symbolic, with 243 years, black abolitionists pushed for the end of slavery. It was symbolic. Right? It was symbolic, because it hadn't happened. Generation upon generation of people say they wanted to be free, and within the context of this white supremacist government, it was symbolic. But we kept pushing, right? And many of us, millions of us, died pushing for this symbolic freedom, and still dying. But we got freedom to a certain extent. To a certain extent,
and they're trying to roll that back, like Walmart prices. Let's grab this call and good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable. Caller, you there?
Good morning, this is Jamal. Peace.
Good morning, Brother Jamal.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
All right. So, you know, as Kevin knows, you know, I've been a frequent critic of his. I've been part of the reparations movement since my teenage years. So a couple more years, it'll be 40 years. My question is, I don't understand, what makes you the person to carry this mission on, and if the churches, quote unquote, acquiesce and do this money, how is the money handled or distributed, and what is the relationship between yourself, the New Democracy Coalition, or whatever other organizational auspices you have there? I'm very concerned that reparations flow through the hands of you or your organization. That concerns me greatly.
Okay, great.
And secondly, what also, too, made this church the space to do it? This church also has a reputation that is not the best. So what makes this church the place, and what makes you the guy?
Okay, let's unpack that.
I'm not the guy.
Okay.
I'll answer that. If you've been in this movement for over 40 years, you know Queen Mother Moore, right?
Of course.
And you know Bill Owens.
Of course.
And you know many other thousands who participated. Right. King and Malcolm and others have commented on the issue of reparations, probably before we were alive or as we were young people. So, Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, we can go on and on. I'm not the guy. Now, if I can add my voice to the sentiments raised initially by our black leadership historically, I will, because I believe that black people should be free. Mm. And they shouldn't, and there should be, their harm should be addressed. So there's a misnomer for anyone to say that I'm the guy. I'm not the guy.
So also, you raised about the location, right? Yeah.
Where does it go?
Oh, that is a process for the black community to engage in. There's a meeting today to which you're invited. There's a process.
Can you give the date? Oh, sorry. Of course.
Yeah, December 20th, 33 Elm Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Grace Church of All Nation. So there has been at 11 a.m. There's been dialogue over the last 2 years around how to put an infrastructure together to process reparations. Now, I believe, this is my personal opinion, that there should be within the black community a repository, a place where funds should be received, about which I'm not connected at all. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be a part of it. I want to advocate for it because it's the right thing to do, and I come from that sort of moral tradition, spiritual tradition, sacred tradition, that says that if you're harmed, then there should be a redress to the harm. So the genius of the black community will facilitate the development of a process and a vehicle and a receptor of these sort of funds that will be distributed to the black community on a variety of issues.
Okay, I have super questions, and sure. I'm not confident with that.
Sure.
So first of all, you say you're not the guy, but it certainly seems like all things are funneling through you.
Oh,
the letter I saw, you authored the letter. You're convening these meetings. It seems that you are a focal point. Some of these other groups and entities and individuals, it seems like they're all following under the Kevin Peters syndrome.
No, I disagree. There are 40 different reparations groups in the city of Boston, many of which have been funded by the city of Boston. They have been on the ground working on reparations from a variety of perspectives, from housing to culture to healthcare to economic development to you name the issue where public safety. You name the issues where there are deficits. These groups have been working on this issue. The NAACP, the Urban League, the largest black-led organizations within the city of Boston, have been playing a critical role and have had a strong voice around the reparations.
Could you share some specific successes that have come through from a lot of the work that these people have done?
Yeah, I should have mentioned them in the opening. We did achieve an apology, which is something that a municipality of our size has not achieved across the country. It's historic. It's groundbreaking.
Any other policy changes or along those lines?
Well, we push for the policy creation of the City of Boston's Reparations Task Force. That's public policy. That was a vote through the City Council. That was approved by the mayor. It is funded. There are about 25 different experts, education experts, working around reparations. That's hard public policy. That's funded.
So because I want to grab this other call in a second,
Sure.
Jamal. I just want to find out who chose the people that are part of this committee. Was this chose
the City of Boston's task force?
Yes,
that was chose by the mayor.
By the mayor.
Boston.
So
I had no say in who.
That's what makes me skeptical. Is it's a lot of times because when we asked for instance, when the people voted for an elected school committee, the mayor said she wanted her own people on there, and I just feel like no one's going to buck the system.
And Larry, is the reason why we said we needed to create an institution within the grassroots to keep that task force accountable. So they have the right, the opportunity to manage that, to choose that, but we have the opportunity from the grassroots to say that we're going to hold you accountable.
They report to the mayor. Are there updates given to the community, to the organizations?
Yeah,
and I'm not check and balance on it.
Yeah, and the community's not satisfied, but they've had, and I say this lovingly because I respect Attorney Feaster. They haven't been as accountable verbally as they should.
Let me just say, because we've got the lines lit up here. For full disclosure, and
that's because of Jamal's call, I think.
Joe Feast is my brother-in-law, but I feel like they go to him too much and they don't, it's not spread around, and there's no one in to come in to fill that vacancy, right? So every time I hear about a committee or whatever, Joe Feaster is involved or heading it up or whatever, and I have a problem with that because I'm like, it's just too much of a close connection there. Jamal, stand by. I want to bring these other callers in because clearly folks have woken up and on the line, but maybe not in life as much as we'd like them to. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning. I just have a comment for Kevin Peterson.
Yeah.
Hey. And again, I appreciate what he's done and on the grassroots level and everybody else that's involved. But again, this is out of respect. No matter what Kevin Peterson does, he cannot get rid of or erase the fact that Boston always has been and always will be a racist city. Yeah.
Correct. You can't erase history. History is immutable, as they might say at the university setting, right? Immutable. But we can address history in terms of redress and in terms of engaging in this context, engaging those people who are responsible for harm to correct the harm, to repair the harm, and ultimately we missed this in our community, and then the reparations narrative. We missed the part around reconciliation.
Right.
We can get to that later, but that's a critical part.
Thank you, Dick. I appreciate that because
thank you, Dick.
And I want to. Stand by caller, because see, here's a problem I have with these because I call them moments and not movements, right? Because during the Black Lives Matter protest, when everything was highlighted and we didn't really get any traction, then when there was somewhat supposedly an appetite to address these things, right? That I believe we should have been much further along in these equities, and we're not. And in this current climate that we're in right now, where they want to reverse and roll back,
backlash,
exactly. I don't know.
Well, it's history repeating itself again. After the Civil War, Reconstruction, again the KKK. That's
40 Acres and a Mule.
Yes. The terrorist group, a homegrown terrorist group that's never been challenged by the U.S. in any shape, way, or form, were allowed to form. So Reconstruction never really occurred. Reconstruction was like deconstruction of the black community. Even the Freeman's Bank, like all these other programs that were supposed to be the Homestead Act, again, all these programs that were made to enrich or help out white communities, like redlining. Well, it wasn't. It's basically blocked us. And even the GI Bill afterwards, World War I and World War II, they came back and they faced even more backlash for, well, how dare you, I'm like, wait, why are you guys beating us up because we have, the army, our uniform on? Why didn't you guys go fight?
Well, and historically too, like you've seen this in Chinatowns across the country. There have been a lot of Chinatowns that are no longer there because they were literally burned to the ground.
Right. There's a documentary people out. Rachel Maddow's burn papers. It speaks to exactly what you.
And it's like, and that's another population as well. Like in terms of speaking to learning about it myself with regards to history. There has been a history of indentured servitude and slavery to a degree of people from China, like Chinese populations with the railroads and so forth. Right. So there is this history with the U.S. of all these different populations.
They love the labor. They just don't want to pay for it.
They want it free.
And when it comes to Mayor Michelle Wu, she definitely should be paying reparations for people that she's wronged. Yeah. There are plenty of people that are in the city, people that work for the city, that she's wronged, and we've seen it.
Let me, Jamal, stand by. Let me grab this other call, sneak it in right quick, and get to Tevin. I want to get back to you. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning.
Good morning, Siddiqui.
Yes. Look, let me just say this. Having been involved with the reparations movement for many, many years and knowing folks across the country, let me just say that in terms of the actual reparations campaign, it's actually functioning on an international basis.
That's right.
With folks who've been doing this for quite some time. And so the one thing that they've been discouraging, like for instance, they do a conference every year for folks to attend around the international campaign that involves not only folks here, but in the continent, in the Caribbean, and folks from Africa that have been affected by the slave trade. So the one thing that has come out of this situation in terms of that group that's been doing this for decades and decades is that they're discouraging splinter group efforts around, like for instance in Michigan, there's a city, I can't remember which city it is, they allegedly got some reparations around housing, with some chump money. Georgetown University said, we're willing to give scholarships to anybody who can prove that they were related to the slaves that built the university, things of that nature. And so what I'm saying is that the only thing that's going to work around reparations, like with Mayor Wu, she's anti-black. She's only doing what she's doing from the perspective of giving the impression that she wants to consider it. She's not in support of reparations.
I agree.
She's playing a game. The bottom line is I encourage folks who really want to be involved in reparations is that you become involved with the national groups that's been out there for decades saying, hey, let's not have our own little splinter group campaigns and get chump resources in return or nothing, and let's do this together. So like I said, when they do that conference, there's folks in the Caribbean and Africa there working in conjunction with each other saying, hey, like I'm sure you've heard of ADOS.
Sure.
ADOS is what's named. They're being rejected because they're saying, well, the only folks who should be able to get reparations are folks who are here in this country.
Siddiqui,
which is ridiculous.
Siddiqui, I want to get Jamal. No, I want to get Jamal. Go ahead.
Mark the calendar, Larry. Except for the comments about Wu, Siddiqui and I are in complete agreement.
Okay, well, they said the broken clock is right twice a day.
and for real, though, because, Siddiqui has been around with the same black nationalists and Pan-African groups, that I have. And, all the people that I know who have been championing this for years, everybody from Republic of New Africa and everything else. Right, so I had the opportunity to be around and be trained by some of the best and brightest minds in this black thing, and it was never about separation. And this is why groups like ADOS and now FBA are so detrimental, and some of these people don't even know they auntie is Jamaican or whatever, but now it's pitting this one against that one.
Right.
And most of our bloodlines are so complex, we got a little of a bunch of stuff in us. Very few are going to be a straight from the plantation
There's
Alabama
no purists,
slant.
right? There's
yeah,
no
but
purists.
we do have to hold Wu accountable, though, because she's the one who's responsible, and she keeps skirting accountability for racism, for sexism, of her people and beyond.
All right, so Jamal,
there is a responsibility. The buck does stop with her, and she leads the
Jamal,
city.
quick, because I want to get Kevin's response to what Siddiqui has said. But go ahead.
I just want to say, no reparations on a city level. That's the chump change.
Okay. Kev, you want to respond to what Siddiqui and Jamal said?
I'd like to hear what the number is in terms of reparations on the national level, which is still under study. But I would say to Siddiqui, Brother Siddiqui, and here's a spoiler alert. Okay. I agree with both of them.
Oh, wow.
I agree with both of them.
Man, we need two clocks in here.
There is a national movement to which I'm connected intimately, in conversation, in dialogue. There's a international commitment around reparations. And I was in Nigeria last week, sitting down in Abuja, sitting down with reparationists. I go to the Vatican next year to talk to bishops about reparations, how we're dealing with the white church here in Boston, because this was innovative in terms of dealing with white churches. And the reparations policy comes out of the Vatican, the papal bull in the 1500s. That's where it starts as public policy. So those bishops have invited people from Boston to the Vatican, bishops have, to talk about how they begin reparations. So I am in simpatico, so to speak, with both Brother Kambun and Brother Jamal. In terms of this not being a local movement, and to characterize it as a local movement is a misnomer. But here's this, and I'll end the point. Brother Siddiqui, the campaign around the chump change and the people around housing, it was Illinois, not Michigan.
No, it's Michigan, brother.
No, Evanston, Illinois. Evanston, Illinois.
Okay.
So, in that context, I think we should agree that the fight on the local level is important and should be appreciated within the context of a national fight. We had Selma, we had Birmingham, we had Montgomery. They were part of a national movement around civil rights.
So no, and I'm glad you said that local level, because you must have been reading my mind. I want to bring it home, and this is where I say, if you guys want to show me some results, the fight really should be, because what's allowing us to have this conversation is broadcasts such as this, right, to our folks, right, is let's do a local level to get this radio station funded so we can have this dialogue every day, right? So that would, to me, would show a major accomplishment of getting Boston Praise Radio funded, right? And that's not a heavy lift, right? So that we can continue to empower our folks and have the conversations where we don't always agree on every issue. Jamal and I don't agree on it, but I love that, brother.
Our version
Siddiqui,
of public radio.
Brother Jamal and Siddiqui, let me ask the question. Who was the brother who went into Riverside Church around reparations? Pushed reparations to white churches?
I have no idea what you're talking about there, but I will say that Siddiqui is right with this as well. So if it happened in Evanston, Illinois, okay, but it also happened in Detroit, Michigan.
That's right.
Reparations program offers $25,000 in housing support to Black Metro Detroiters.
The point.
Let me just
go ahead, Siddiqui.
interject this whole piece here is that the bottom line is that in terms of the reparation campaign, we're being played, like with Mayor Wu. They want the splinter groups to have them because on an international basis, what is being said, whether it be Jamaica, the Caribbean, the folks involved, asking, say, you know what, we're demanding trillions of dollars. And so to address like what Larry just said, the bottom line is that money would be used for us from a do-for-self perspective,
exactly,
so that we wouldn't have to ask anybody to support a station like what you're on right now.
Right.
So we're asking internationally for trillions of dollars. And so, like I said before, the mayor, I think there's 3 reparations groups in Boston, and including the one that the mayor supposedly established. Nothing's going to happen with that. So if we don't connect with the international folks who have been doing this for decades and have laid the groundwork, if you will, in terms of what's valid, then it goes nowhere. So, like I said, there's a conference every year.
What's the name of that group?
For folks to be in attendance, to come together.
Do you have the name of it, Siddiqui?
I don't have the group.
Okay.
What's the name? It's the internet. I don't have it in front of me, no.
Okay.
But I know they do it every year in D.C.
Okay.
But there is an organization called the National Center for Race Amnesty, and they do a conference based on the fact that America is racist and it needs reparations. But again, the idea of like trying to make sure that all races are friends and understanding
But
that
again,
we're being pitted against each other.
I'm going to but I'm saying this is why I say again, I'm going to put a shameless plug in for this radio station, not this broadcast, this radio station, because if our voices are silenced, the message doesn't get out, right? You're not going to hear this conversation on NPR. You're not going with the during the week,
not during the day,
so
because
it doesn't Cash App, $, capital B, capital P, capital R, TV.
Yes.
There we go.
Right.
And then, if you want to support us also, you can also like us on Facebook, the Roundtable of MAMLEO, and just a follow doesn't cost you anything.
No. But I'd also remind everyone, too, we talk about on international level, we'll talk about on a national level, but it does make a difference on a local level as well. Look at all the little things that Mayor Michelle Wu and her administration is doing with regard to skirting accountability for racism, for sexism. I mean, even look at simple things like, for example, what she's been doing.
I second that.
Yeah, and you look at even avoiding justice for victims of like Pat Rose Sr. all the things.
Okay, let's bring this because I'm gonna go ahead, Jamal.
Way beyond Michelle Wu, and this is kind of the thing. Right. Like for me, for the reparations thing. All right, look, I wrote a list. It was called the Prophets of Doom because everybody, one of my mentors, Steve Coakley, rest in peace, always said, name the names. Okay, name the names. So when we were talking about reparations and what has happened to us, it'd be like, well, who? What are these corporations and whatnot? Now, here in Boston, you know, Fleet Bank, Bank of Boston, all this, the railroad company, what is it called, C&R or what have you, Prudential, all this type of things that were the insurance companies, the huge entities, many of them headquartered or, you know, have facilities in Boston that we need to go after. But the city of Boston is actually a small fish. And particularly if we're going to deal, let me see, the one reparations thing that I think would apply would be probably the busing. Busing could probably be added
I would
into
like to
that.
speak
but
on
everything is prehistory. And when we think about what our city is made up of now, my own family, Jamaican, they came here from Jamaica, right? So Cape Verdean, also in my family. You know, Cape Verdeans came here as fisher people and all this type of thing. So now you're involving other countries, Portugal, England, all of the, you know, the major colonial things. Rhodes, you know, France and Haiti. Look, they got Haiti paying France reparations.
We definitely got to talk about that. We definitely
because I've got another caller and I want to get to one second. But to your point there, Jamal, it's like that's why I said we started like during this whole George Floyd and you know the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah. All these companies had made commitments and now they're withdrawing them because it's not popular anymore. We didn't take advantage. Like I said, we got to get out of this moment stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And this to be a real movement.
Okay, and Larry, but that's only y'all because y'all ain't been entrenched. You know, like I said, I got almost 40 years in it now, and Siddiqui got more than me. But no, it comes like to me, you know, back when I was a kid in the Elmer Lewis School and all this type of stuff. No, folks was talking about it then, and all my elders and the mentors, the people who were the rock stars to me. You know, the Black Panthers, Black Liberation Army, and all this type of stuff. We had an international mindset. We had a world view. This is why the Panthers was dealing with Cuba and China and, you know, dealing with Africa and whatnot. You know, that's why, once again, the Black nationalist and the Pan-Africanist approach, that's my religion. And give me that old time.
So to the two callers, what's the process of connectivity that you're endorsing?
And before you answer, I got to bring this other caller in because we have another caller in line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Yes, good morning. This question is for Mr. Peterson. This is T. Michael Thomas.
Hey, T.
You woke everyone up this morning.
Spirit is moving.
When are you going to put me on your calendar? The last time you and I sat one-on-one was 2014. I've been reaching out. I have information that can help your argument towards reparations. Think about it. Let's talk sooner than later.
Yes.
Great show, and I will be listening.
Thank you.
Does he have your information? You have each other's
information? Yeah, they have each other's information.
So your question.
Text me. I think the last time we talked specifically about your project, which is brilliant, and I support it, was when I wrote a op-ed in the Boston Herald supporting it like there was no tomorrow.
Okay.
If I can help any more, I'm happy to do that. You have my number. Just text me. It's probably the best way to get to me.
Your question back to those two. And then
what's the process of connect to Brother Kamboon and Brother Jamal? You're advocating international engagement as a local level seems not to work. What is the process connectivity that we should have to those groups? And what questions do we raise to them in terms of our productivity?
And we'll start with Siddiqui.
Capacity and productivity on the ground.
Siddiqui?
Hello?
You know, what's the name? I know Larry asked me the name of the group that does it piece every year, but you go Google and get that name with no problem because, you know, they've been around for a long time. And folks are very much aware of what they're doing, and I'm sure they put out information for their next conference.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of Google, you know, the International Reparations Campaign, and their name will come right up.
Maybe you can Google it now and let us know.
Yeah. Rhodes is over there. Go ahead,
I've dealt with the folks from
N-Cobra, yes.
And I encourage people, it's still online, but maybe now 20 years ago, if not 25, there was a Millions for Reparations march on the D.C. Plaza, and that had everybody, who's who. And, you know, that's back when Dr. Conrad Worrell from N-Cobra was still alive. He was one of the main proponents of that. And then some of my mentors, unfortunately, like Chokwe Lumumba, passed away. and you know, he was one of the architects of RNA, Republic of New Africa, and you know, the thought that we should be given land at the lower states, and they had a very active reparations plan, and Mutulu Shakur was working on a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And lastly, you know, is my brother Elder Mentor, who's still alive, give thanks, would be Dr. Akinyele Umoja. But folks, if they're really serious about reparations, you should pick up a couple of books, you know what I mean, and do some research on the interwebs and check out that Millions for Reparations.
Well, can you send us so we can post those books that you're referring to on our website? Because it really is about educating people. I think it's important that we do so. We're going to have Helen weigh in. But also, let me just, you know, for folks, so you know, Jamal said we've been fighting it probably just in different lanes, you know, because I've been fighting it ever since I became on the police department, you know, for internally with us. And that's why I say this is why we need to come together, right? We don't have to always agree on every aspect of it. But I think when we look at it, the wrong that we've been wronged, and we want to correct that. And we're never like, I always equate it to the Boston Marathon, right? Like if we did like Rosie Ruiz and we get on the bus in Kidmore, right? We'll win the race, right? But when we always have a fair race, our brothers and sisters kill them every year. Always, right? Because we start at the same, but we haven't had the same starting point, right, in life, right? So as our European brothers and sisters, so we have to be honest about that before we can move this along. Helen, go ahead. I wanted to get you.
Yeah, a point that I want to make too is that it's like, especially with Mayor Michelle Wu and her administration, it's like she's there. Here is a woman who's fighting against reparations for example, even just the victims of Pat Rose Sr., for them to even get a day in court, fighting against them. So she doesn't care about abused kids, let alone members of our black community with regards to reparations. And then it's like she probably still fights against, you know, making sure that the kids that the school abuse that happened in Mission Hill, we haven't heard anything about that, accountability for that, protecting our kids in our community, right?
Not educating people is a form of abuse, in my opinion.
And so look at that, like where she's even trying to make sure that she skirts accountability when it comes to abused kids.
I believe in accountability for everybody, but let's not confuse that with reparations specifically dealing with the African slave trade.
But it makes a difference. It's not about confusing. It's about the fact that every decision she makes and action that she takes shows you what she does care about and what she doesn't care about. And clearly it's not about righting wrongs and making amends.
We'll grab this call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning. This is Cliff. How you doing?
Good morning, brother Cliff.
I'm good. Let me ask y'all a question. What about y'all talk about reparations, right? Okay, so what about the history of blacks owning other blacks? Do they get reparations too? And the Native Americans, they own slaves too. Do they get reparations too? So nobody's talking about that one.
No, bro. Let me fix that right quick.
Go ahead.
So those are some of the myths. While there were certain black people who owned slaves, it's such a minute number that it doesn't count. The majority of the African slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, dealt with moving Africans by the main colonial forces: England, France, Spain, Portugal, the Dutch. Am I missing maybe the Belgium and Congo? So let's not confuse that. Yes, there were a few black people who owned slaves, but no, that is not the bulk, or even like is significant enough to account into the reparations movement. In terms of the Native Americans, we believe, well, let me speak for myself, my beliefs with my black nationalism and Pan-African is that the Native Americans need their land back. You cannot have justice on stolen land.
Right.
Yes. So, Kev, what it was going to, the caller was saying, should people who have been owned by black and Native Americans
receive reparations as well.
And Jamal was saying that the number is so minuscule that that's not even on the radar with the numbers of us who have been taken from other places and enslaved, and honestly, in some ways, continue to be enslaved.
Can I add on to something?
Sure.
In terms of this whole thing around black people, look here. In terms of the brutality of slavery, nothing compares to what went on here. And let's be clear, what they don't talk about in Africa, that a lot of the folks that were supposedly quote unquote enslaved, that they actually operated on an indentured servant basis, so that they would would evolve to the extent that they would become
That's right.
independent of whatever they're doing. So it wasn't that they went through the brutality that happens in this country. This country tries to make it appear like, oh yeah, we had slavery, but there's also slavery in other areas. Nothing was as brutal as what went on here in this country. And
that's the difference between cultural slavery and chattel slavery,
right.
for sure.
Exactly.
Well, I guess I would like to make this distinction and maybe differ with Brother Camboon. It is true that blacks, enslaved blacks, and blacks moving post-slavery suffered immeasurably. It's tragic. It remains a tragedy. There's cultural slavery, mental slavery, all of the spiritual slavery, all happening today.
And without the chains.
Without the chains. But we cannot dismiss willy-nilly genocide of our Native American brothers. We just can't. I don't think you can compare them, but it's a tragedy of equal measure, as I would suggest. There are probably about 3% of Native Americans living in this.
But I also think, like what Helen has alluded to as well, is Asian Americans, right?
Yes,
and what they've experienced in this country. That's why I said race.
There's no more equivalent in terms of the loss.
Yeah,
it's a loss is a loss, and every life is valuable. Every culture is valuable. So when we lose people in one culture based on racism and genocide, it's a painful loss across humanity.
Well, that's like the Jewish community. What I respect about it, they say never again, never exactly, never again. And we have, I want to say, it's temporary amnesia. We just don't get. So, Cliff, I don't know if that answers your question or not, or
that
you got to
my
follow.
question.
Okay, but again, this is why, Cliff, why it's important that we try to work together. Like you said, we're not always going to agree on every aspect of it, and I don't see people who I disagree with as my enemy. We just don't agree, and fine. But let's try to find some common ground where we can work on the real problem. Because a lot of times, you can jump and jump. The real problem is not us personally. It's just that we have personal differences that we can't get past. Good, Jamal.
Cliff, I know you've mentioned it before, right? But what type of Latino are you?
Honduran.
Okay. So, as you know, right, with because people will say Latino, but there's so many different nations and cultures that's represented in that thing, right? So first of all, in Boston, most people gonna be like Puerto Rican or Dominican, right?
Right.
All right. But now the thing that binds most of you is you speak Spanish, right?
Right.
Bang, Spain. See, so that colonial force. Like England used to say, there is no time where the sun sets on the British Empire, because we all over the
world. Yes.
Okay. So the same thing with Spain, France, they were all competing for the same thing. So this is why certain portions of Africa, Cape Verde, what have you, speak Portuguese or derivative of it, because we always insert our own thing, right? But as a Honduran, you understand, because Spain is that's your colonial force.
Right.
I'm talking to you right now in the Queen's English. England is mine. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Again.
And I heard Larry mention the Jewish community and the oppression. Look here, the Jewish community was heavily involved in financing the slave trade.
No, I'm not giving them cover. What I'm saying is that the model that they had is that the travesty that happened, they learned from it, and they're not allowing it to take place again. Where some of us have learned, but a lot of us have not learned the lesson of our past. And we're falling for this trap.
Well, again, our past is not taught to us. Again, the way they teach history in America is literally that they
I was taught in my home.
Okay, they sugarcoat it. Okay. All right, they don't tell you, they stole the names from the Native Americans, and they say, oh no, they discovered America. They came here with Christian views to try to improve their lives. No. Okay, they stole the land. They came in and said, "Oh, this is ours." And the Native Americans actually did fight back. They said, "No, when you came here, the land, the river, the tree, the mountain, the sky is here. And when you die, the mountain, the river, it's still going to be. How is it yours? It belongs to God. It doesn't belong to you."
So callers, stand by. Please stand by, callers. So Kevin, because time is against us. What is the outcome? What's the agenda for today's meeting there at the church?
Continued dialogue, because we haven't arrived at a solution, but we We've short history. We've approached a specific number of white churches, most of them downtown. We asked them around atonement. They signed an atonement statement. They said that we're sorry. We went back to them. We said, well, we have 10 commandments. We brought that to them. They've accepted, and they began working on 10 commandments. And there is a pool of about $51 million, just to be transparent. They said that they have. Now, how they distribute that is of question, and it's a process of trying to move towards common ground. I don't know how it happens. I think I'm calling upon my leadership here at the station this morning and throughout your airways to come to the meeting and not listen to what Kevin Peterson has to say, but give Kevin Peterson some direction, some guidance in terms of how we get from here.
That's what the representative government's supposed to work like, right?
Exactly.
How come Mayor Wu doesn't tell us to come down there and tell us what to do?
If she's a
And I would
Democrat,
say looking out for holding your community leaders accountable too as well.
Absolutely.
Because the fact that it does also make a difference when we talked about when it was mentioned on with our callers with regards to, slave ownership wasn't just only exclusive to, whites owning black slaves, but there were also other black people that own black slaves and also Native Americans. But that also translates to even modern day, right? Not even just looking at history, but we do have people that are within our same culture that can actually sell out our own people.
Elected officials, you mean?
Huh?
Black elected officials?
Elected officials, even Mayor Michelle Wu, they talk about when she had her, whites only party, she didn't have any Asian people there either.
Yeah.
Most of her, staff members that are, some either like Asian American descent or whatever it may be, like a lot of them don't last very long. And then even looking at modern day slavery, Larry can probably speak to this a little bit. When we all worked for the Boston Police Department, that was in its own form of slavery to some degree, right? I myself, as the first and probably only as the first Asian female that ever went into special ops, one of the first things that the deputy superintendent said to me is like, "I own you now."
Wow.
And it's like stuff like that where it's like it still comes on, it may not be in chains, but there still is a form of slavery.
They got rid of the slaves.
Yeah.
I mean, they got rid of the chains.
So folks, again,
and put the mental chains with the taxation of the money.
I think it's powerful that there's a picture of two young girls outside in the gate, and the gate is open, and they're behind the bars, and they don't
know how to go around the gate.
Exactly, their freedom. So today at Boston Black Preparations meeting on Boston's white churches, Saturday, December 20th at 11 a.m. at the Grace Church of All Nations, 33 Elm Hill Ave in Dorchester. Is that Roxbury? That's part of Dorchester. Okay, it's on the line. It's on the line there.
Just remember, folks, think globally.
Kevin Peterson and others will be there. Kevin, because I think folks have been to a lot of meetings, and it just wears you down, right? Because I'm saying you're talking about several ventures that you're going to be taking, one to the Vatican. Who is going to be part of that junket? Is it brothers like Siddiqui, Jamal, and myself? Because I'm saying if y'all paying, we're flying.
Yeah.
Because
I can speak to reparations. Yes, I can speak about my problems with Boston.
I think a lot of times we don't see a variety of folks there with different opinions, right? It's like I said. I mean, Joe Feaster, I hear his name all the time as the person who, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no one else who could fill that void. I think there is. It's not a knock on him, but I mean, we've got to try something different.
We fill the void. We are the leaders that we've been looking for.
Okay.
And I've always operated on an open table in terms of community organizing it. So anybody's welcome to this meeting, even white people around the reparations debate, even people who disagree and want to, even people who want to attack other people within the room. I mean, that's not productive. But we got to get to an answer. We got to be collective. We got to be collaborative, and we have to move towards what Dr. King called the beloved community.
Cliff, before we let you go, any final comments?
No, but I'd like to thank Brother Jamal for educating me as always.
Listen, we have some of the best callers in the world, and this is why I say, supporting the Boston Praise radio station. Where can you sit down and have a conversation of this magnitude, of this length of time, right? Not a blip on the radar, and to be able to have these conversations with people. And as Cliff said, he's got an education this morning, right? He's not going to get that probably anywhere else. And say what you want about Brother Siddiqui as well. These are wealths of information, and we're just trying to be that vessel to get it out there. But folks, there's a cost affiliated with that. Boston Praise Radio, look, I'm going to be brutally honest. MAMLEO pays for its time here. But Boston Praise Radio, this station, if we had a conversation we had funded for this to be on the air Monday through Friday, I'm not talking about it has to be us specifically, but to be able to pick some people to sit in these chairs and educate our folks like Cliff says he's getting today, just on a Saturday morning, from some novelists, right, who were, trying to just engage and help our community. This is where we have to step up. So what's that about, Pastor Hobbs?
Cash App, $, capital B, capital P, RTV.
So no donation is too small.
That's right.
Yeah. And also the spiritual guidance that our hosts provide too to our community.
They're here. The station's here 7 days a week. Providing it's a beacon of light for this community. It's a resource. So again, let's just support this. And you know what I learned on Sunday? He is the source. He is the source, and we are the resource.
There you go.
And I learned that Sunday when I was here.
Thank you, Cliff. And we have to get you into the station soon because when you came in that day, it's been a while.
Yes.
We definitely want to get you in. So let me know. You have my number. Reach out to me, brother. We'd love to have you come in the new year.
All right.
And
thank you. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too.
You do the same.
617-282-0685. 617-282-0685. You're listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. Kevin, we know we got a few minutes. Want to give you a couple minutes again to explain to folks the importance of what you're doing. Boston's Black Reparations meeting today, December 20th at the Greater Love
Grace
Church of I should put my glasses on. Grace Church of All Nations at 33 Elm Hill Ave in Dorchester at 11 a.m. this morning. Like I said, folks, put that on your shopping list. Put that in your car. Just stop by, whether you agree or disagree. You can voice whether you agree or disagree, right?
Absolutely. And what's happening this morning is connecting to Sadiqi's point, to Jamal's point, is connecting to a national, international movement. Dialogue has to happen on the ground. We have to have dialogue. We can be creative and add to the solution, be part of the larger international, national solution around reparations.
Because I feel like this conversation this morning has been very productive, right? It's not always in agreement, but I always learn, and this is an area where I don't have a lot of information and I don't have a lot of knowledge.
No, we're just kidding.
Listen, I'm not, I stay in my lane.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's why I give the tickets to people who don't.
Touche.
You call him out.
I deserve
writing all these down.
Right?
Like I said to him, it have to be viewed and have to be seen of you. But no, go ahead, Kevin.
So I just invite everyone, and we all have our perspectives, our differences, even our flaws, and even our misnomers around this, that, and the other. But let's come together under the rubric of justice. That's what it's about. Under the rubric of democracy.
Siddiqui,
that's what it's all about.
We got 30 seconds for you. Go ahead. Any closing, parting, sir, before we let you go?
All I can say is that it's about do for self. And all the groups out here, like I think that the whole piece about people of color is overrated. We always look for allies. Everybody's, like Mayor Wu, she's taking care of Chinatown. I think that's good. We got to be thinking
she
about.
She is not taking care of Chinatown. Have you seen Chinatown lately? It is not being taken care of.
I'm just saying the bottom line is that we're the only group that's always looking for allies.
Right.
Our allies are within the midst of ourselves, so we have to be thinking about, and that's, because what happens is that
I got to cut you off, brother.
You're anti-white if you talk like that.
I got to cut you off.
We got to be just like every other group.
Thank you.
Circle the wagons.
All right.
And do what we got to do for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddiqui. And you can send a check because we know you don't do that fancy stuff. Jamal, get to 30 seconds.
I'm a black nationalist and a Pan-Africanist, and I am working for the freedom and justice for all folks within the African diaspora.
All right.
So that's
and everything that entwines.
That means you're.
Bless you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, callers. So again, today, Boston's Black Reparations meeting on Boston's white churches. Today, Saturday, December 20th at 11 a.m. The Grace Church of All Nations, 33 Elm Hill Ave. Kevin Peterson, sir, thank you, sir. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you, man.
Like I said, always a pleasure. Always a few good laughs here.
As always.
Definitely have to get you back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's family.
Helen, thank you.
Everyone, register to vote and check on your voter registration status. Vote.gov.
All right.
And all I gotta say is, like, you know, as you alluded or wanted to say earlier, or made you say earlier, was think globally but act locally.
All right. You've been listening at the Round Table with MAMLEO. Folks, have a blessed, happy Kwanzaa, whatever your religious is. Happy Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad,
Hanukkah,
and all of that good stuff.
Noel.
We'll
Take care
see
of
you
each other.
soon.
Yes.
All right.
And Dr. Hobbs, the master. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
And Rose, since you're sitting in that chair,
be blessed.
all right.
Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game. It ain't a challenge if your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping? Why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'? You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst. And the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer. Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard.